Welcome to my January reading wrap-up. Sorry if the camera's a little tilted. I'm trying to get it straight as possible, but anyway, we'll work with what we got. So this month I read 9 books, and I'll just jump right into it as always, starting with the first book that I got finished this month. So the first book I had started reading in December, but I finished in January, on January 2nd. It's called 6 Stories by Matt Wesolowski. I gave this book a 4 to 5. This book follows... I listened to the audiobook, which I highly, highly recommend, because this book is set in a podcast format. So kind of each part of the book is a new episode of the podcast. And the interviewer is interviewing a different person each time. And I guess I would classify this as obviously fiction, and I would say kind of mystery. I really liked the book, not just for the way it was delivered on the audiobook, but because of the mystery aspect. Near the end, I was able to guess what was coming, but at the beginning, I had no idea. And I just thought it was really well paced the whole time. And I think a lot of people would like it for that reason, because you don't get bored at all. So 6 stories, 4 to 5 stars. The next book I read that month was Educated by Tara Westover. My sister got me this book for Christmas, and I loved it. It's so good. I'm seeing now that I gave it a 4 to 5 stars on Goodreads. And I think I should change that to a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, why wouldn't I give it 5 out of 5? What is wrong with it? I remember while reading it thinking it was kind of slow, because for the first 2/3, it just talks about kind of her childhood and her teenage years. But that makes sense because she was only she wasn't even 30 when she wrote this book. So that has been her whole life so far. And if you don't know what this book is already, then I don't know where you've been. It was on so many lists for 2018, best books of 2018 and stuff. This is a nonfiction book by an American woman who was raised as... Oh, crap.
Hello?
Crap. What's it called? Not Mennonite. That's here in Winnipeg where I am. Not Jehovah's Witness. The other one, Mormon. She was raised as a Mormon. Her dad had a lot of mental health problems. Her family suffered a lot for many reasons. I don't want to give away any details, but the way she writes is fantastic. Her story is terrifying and sad and moving and motivating. So it is just a really, really great nonfiction memoir to read. The next book I read in January was Juniper, the Girl Who Was Born Too Soon. This was written by a couple, Kelly and John French. His name's only Kelly's name is here. Anyway, I give this book a 3 to 5 stars. Juniper is about a baby who was born too soon. So Kelly got pregnant with their baby. She delivered, I think Juniper was 3 months or something when she was delivered, and it's just about the parents going through a very extremely early birth and kind of coping with the uncertainty if their daughter was gonna live or not. So it's a really nice story. It's not compelling, or there's no mystery at the end to work through. It's just a nice story. That's all I can really say about it. The fourth book of this month was Circe by Madeline Miller. I listened to the audiobook of Circe. Circe was really popular in 2018. I only gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because it lagged in places. There are some parts I was really, really into it. I wanted to know what happened. I was really involved in the story and the adventure aspect of it. But then there were so many parts where I was like, oh God, come on, what? Nothing's happening. And that's kind of how I felt overall with the book. Nothing happened in the book. I don't know. It had its good parts and bad parts, but the bad parts overshadowed the good parts for me. What I did really like is that it's kind of like Greek mythology, which I find interesting, especially since I haven't really read any books like that probably since like middle school and school. So I did like that aspect of it, but not a fan of the book overall. The next book of the month was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is the third John Green book I've read. Normally, I do not like his books, but I gave this book 5 out of 5. It's my favorite book I've read so far this year. I loved it. I loved the main character. Well, I guess I'll just tell you what it's about quickly. So, Turtles All the Way Down is about our main character who lives with an anxiety disorder. And I just think it's absolutely fascinating how John Green was able to portray life with an anxiety disorder so well. I mean, I can't really relate because I don't have an anxiety disorder. I think, like most people, I've had some anxiety in the past, and I remember very clearly one time in 2018 when I had like just this one day I was just overwhelmed with anxiety, and I was like, if people have to live this on a daily basis, that is rough. And I think that John Green emulated that in this book, and he showed people who don't have an anxiety disorder like what it's actually like. And of course it's different for everyone, but I really felt for this character, and I learned a lot, and I just loved her story. And I loved that there were different relationships. There was like friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships, and each were highlighted and talked about and given like each was given an appropriate amount of importance. Like one relationship didn't overshadow the other, which I really enjoyed. The book after that was The Law by Frederick Bastiat. It doesn't even really count as a book. It's just like kind of like an essay. Like it's very small. It's only 60 something pages. So Frederick Bastiat is a Frenchman from the 1800s, the early 1800s, and he is just giving his opinion on the law, what it should be, what it is in the 1800s, and why he doesn't agree with what's happening. So it's very, it's like an intellectual read. It's to learn. So I gave that a 5 out of 5 because I agree with all the things he said. But I'm sure none of you really care about that kind of book, so I'm going to move on to the next one, which was another nonfiction, another memoir called After Visiting Friends, A Son's Story. This book sounds so good. If you go into Goodreads, you read the synopsis, it's like, whoa, because the author, he's going back to his dad's death and trying to find out like what happened, because no one really gives him information about how his dad died or the circumstances around the death, and he just finds the whole thing really fishy. So once he's now in his 30s, he is a journalist himself like his father, and he wants to get to the bottom of it. So this whole time we're kind of figuring out like what happened to his dad. But I found that, it was by Michael Haney. Michael Haney is the author. I find his writing to be very jumpy. I don't think it flowed very well. I think there were some details and just parts of the book that didn't need to be there. I got bored. I basically just wanted to find out what happened to the dad, and I was skimming through it. At the end, I was fully skimming through it for sure. But 3 out of 5 because I did find the story interesting. So only 2 more. So I guess the 8th book then that I listened to the audiobook called The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I know a lot of people have read this book in 2018. It was like 2018's best thriller. I gave this a 2 out of 5. It wasn't shocking. This is a thriller. I'm supposed to be shocked. I'm not supposed to really guess what happens. Well, I guessed. I knew who the villain was early on, and there weren't really any twists for me, and it wasn't very captivating. It was a little boring. It was just in her house. I liked her family struggle. I liked that storyline of it. But other than that, it really didn't do much for me. And the final book I read Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the final book of January. The other book was, I started in January, but I actually finished it in February. So that'll be in the next video, my February wrap up. So that's it. Then I only read 8 books in January. I'm sorry. I calculated? Yeah, I only read 8 books in January, which is really good. My goal is to read 5 books a month. So I'm already ahead because I'm only gonna do 60 for the year of January. So that's great. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.